If the power of the right to vote was truly made available to everyone in America, it would change the future of this nation.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stacey Abrams!
When I started running for governor, we anticipated that voter suppression was going to be instrumental in Ryan Kemp's campaign, and we were right.
We've been in line for 5 hours.
They said you've already voted. Looks like several days ago. No, I would have remembered that.
Thousands of people were told no and didn't have the authority to demand better.
These lines are insane. We had precinct consolidation, non-training of local election officials.
I knew something had gone horribly wrong. The system that is supposed to protect our democracy didn't work the way it was supposed to.
States implement voter suppression laws all across the country.
Things like new voter ID laws, purging. You're knocked off the roll. Gerrymandering. Changing the voting boundaries. Ohio is a use it or lose it state.
In the United States, the right to vote is the only right you can lose simply for not using it.
Jim Crow 2.0. That's what we're saying. We've got a lot of work to do.
When we started as a country,
6% of people were eligible to vote. There's still forces that are determined to keep citizens from voting. Unless we fight for the right to vote, our democracy is put at risk. The fight over voting rights is ultimately about power. The states have figured out how to stop African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans, the young, and the poor from voting.
history is never a straight line. It's always a fight.
I will not concede because the erosion of our democracy is not right.
Try to make history.
The vote matters.
You belong. You have value.
Y'all, somebody want to tell me what the hell that was? Somebody want to tell me somebody want to tell me what the hell was that? For Stacey Abrams to have the living audacity to even think about uttering the words election fraud, voter suppression, election integrity, after she just witnessed the Democrats engage in every single tactic they refer to, not in the whole document, I haven't seen the documentary yet, but Lord baby Jesus, just in the damn commercial for the documentary, we know for a fact the Democrats engage in every single one of those tactics in order to keep outsider candidates from getting any of the votes from the young, the poor, the working class, the Latino groups, the Black groups, the groups that are generally people of color, new registered voters that have just switched into the Democratic Party because they may have been voting in a closed primary. Bruh. Y'all remember Super Tuesday? Y'all remember Super Tuesday? Super Tuesday. If y'all recall, I was in California with the fam. I was with the Combo Couch crew. And just like myself, Combo Couch is very, very, very dedicated to covering election fraud and fighting for election integrity. And do you know what the Combo Couch crew tried to warn? Not the day of, not a week before, not 3 weeks prior, but almost a year and a half in advance. The Convo Couch put out a warning saying that there is an attempt to suppress the vote. There is an attempt to they're going to sell it as ineptitude, right? But that's not the case. What they did was create an entirely new voting system that is far less secure than the previous voting system. And behind the chaos, they will be trying to rig the election. They warned about this. Pasta and Johnny Sue, on the ones and twos, they tried to follow the chain of command, the chain of custody for mail-in ballots. It got to a point where they were like, okay, so where are these going next? Well, we don't know. Well, what do you mean we don't know? The law says that we can be there when they're being counted. So where are these going next? We don't know. No idea. Who's going to count them? We don't know. So how can we go there if that we don't know? I talked to someone at dinner that just happened to be discussing their ballot. This is in LA, Pasadena. I was just happened to overhear them, and I hear the word ballot, vote. What the hell happened to my registration? And my ears perked up. I was like, "Excuse me, sir. I don't want to be rude, but can you explain to me what happened? What took place?" And he explained to me that he did everything correctly. He'd been voting there for damn near a decade in that particular county from that particular address. And the Democrats somehow, because that's who runs the Democratic primary there, somehow that led to him being removed from the ballot or removed from the registration. Then he had to re-register. Then they only let him on the machine, which, by the way, it was supposed to be a paper ballot, so that's already a problem. On the machine, they only let him vote for the presidential race in the Democratic primary, and that was it. And they didn't even give him all the options. We know that Donna Brazile admitted that 2016 was rigged. She's establishment, she admitted it. Tom Perez, before he had to renege, admitted it as well. We know that from 2016 to 2020, the Democratic Party took every state that they knew, every caucus state specifically, that they knew Bernie Sanders was going to dominate because he dominated in 2016. And then gave them all voting machines with no trace of a paper ballot backup. They uprooted entire caucus systems over 2 years to put in not paper ballots, but voting machines that we obviously know can absolutely and will absolutely be hacked. Voting machines with proprietary software, not open source software, which means if there was a hack, we wouldn't be allowed to see it. We've seen what happened to Tim Canova. I mean, which time do you want to discuss? The first time where he lost by this much of a margin, where Brenda Snipes destroyed 10,000 ballots, where Tim sued her in the county and won. In other words, it is on record that an election supervisor, a Democratic elections supervisor, destroyed 10,000 ballots in order to protect one candidate against another. That person is fired now. I don't know if y'all know that, along with 2 other Democratic supervisors of elections. Obviously, there's everything that we discovered in the DNC fraud lawsuit. Then there's remember they mentioned the lines. They mentioned the lines in the video. Remember that? Oh my God, the lines. Oh, that's interesting. Because remember in Texas, at every major school in the country that was hosting elections, they all had problems. All of them. And at UCLA, apparently they had like 6 voting machines for the entire campus. And they were just giving out one concerned poll worker said that they gave provisional ballots, which by definition are not counted on the night of the election, by definition. They gave provisional ballots to 93% of the students who showed up. They said that's wrong. That wasn't supposed to happen. By the time it was all said and done, do y'all know that Biden basically stole California from Bernie Sanders? And Lord knows who else. Jill Stein in 2016 took both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to the mat, even winning a case in Pennsylvania that said that the elections basically were not legitimate. I mean, yeah, the results already been counted, but yeah, we can't allow this to happen again. So we got to get rid of voting machines and do mandatory paper ballots instead. Where is that documentary at? Where's that documentary at? That's why people want me to get super, hype about this. Oh, look at the Republicans. They don't want to do mail-in ballots because I mean, they probably, like, Republicans traditionally do not want more people voting. Like, they know what the numbers say. The numbers say the less people that vote, the higher chance they have to win. So I'm not denying that. But I've never denied that. Not one single time. If anyone tried to tell me that the Republicans were trying to rig an election, I've never denied that. The problem is when you explain to them the Democrats are just as guilty, if not more guilty, when it comes to their personal primaries than the Republicans are. And they cannot accept that, because the Democrats are supposed to be the altruistic ones. Those are the ones who are supposed to believe in democracy. What about Stacey Abrams? You know why Stacey Abrams had no problem calling out election fraud against the Republicans in Georgia, which I believe her. I do believe the Republicans were trying to rig the outcome of that election, because I've seen the propensity for both parties to rig only when it favors them and ignore it when they could call out their own team. I believe Stacey Abrams when she said that Georgia was rigged against her. I believe it. And because when it was time to call out the fact that, well, the entire Democratic primary was rigged clearly for the guy that you decided to back. And guess what? You didn't call that out, did you? Why? Because it was rigged for the guy that you decided to back, because you thought you were going to get something out of it. How's that working out for you? And then for them to have disgustingly attached this voter suppression to Black people, as if, and then obviously directly associate that with Republicans, it's abhorrent. It is. Because we know the Democrats use the exact same tactics during the primary. Guess who had the worst election conditions? Poor people and Black people, and just generally people of color. There's one thing that the lady said in there that was true. She said the states have successfully learned how to suppress Black people, but that is not exclusive to just red states. That's all states. That's including California, including New York, including Pennsylvania. And the Democrats are just as guilty of gerrymandering as Republicans are. So this is what I say. When I say that the Democrats and Republicans and just the system in general, they co-opt movements that are impactful, that are meaningful, that are real. Or else they wouldn't use those movements to co-opt. You get what I'm saying? You're not going to co-opt the failure of a movement. You're going to co-opt the movements that have legitimacy, that are gaining traction, which kind of makes it feel a little bit good, because clearly they were so worried, they were so fearful that election integrity would be an issue that would cause people to either vote against the Democrats, not even necessarily for Trump, but against the Democrats, or just not vote at all. They were worried that so many people had caught on to the scheme that is a Democratic primary that they had to co-opt the movement for election integrity. So that gives me some hope that they know that we're breaking through. And so, of course, they're going to try and co-opt the message and co-opt the movement and co-opt the fight. But I'll be damned. Not here, bro. Nah, not like this. It's a joke. That documentary is a joke. How dare you put up Martin Luther King's face? How dare you pretend that you care about it's funny. I've been saying for quite some time, like, there, and it's still true by and large. Everybody's talking about vote. Vote, 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 vote. You have to vote. Go, go, vote, 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 vote. Vote them out, vote them out. All your problems can be solved by going to cast a ballot to vote. Nobody is saying, nobody. Make sure you go vote, and then make sure that your vote is being counted. And if there is someone who is trying to stop you from doing so, make sure you get them held accountable. Nobody is saying make sure your vote counts. No one, I mean, there's very few of us, but no one is saying make sure your vote counts. There's a reason for that. And then, of course, the first instance of someone coming out and saying make sure your vote counts, they're saying, oh, no, make sure your vote counts, but only if you vote Democrat. No, everybody's vote should count. Everybody. And if they were more focused on simultaneously not only making sure the vote counts, but, you know, selling policies that people actually believe in and nominating the candidates that people actually would fight for, then they wouldn't have to worry about mail-in ballots or whatever. You haven't inspired anybody, and they know it. It's funny because people think that these BLM protests around the country are somehow organized by the Democrats. That's silly. That's stupid. The Democrats they're not really behind. They're playing defense right now. They're like, oh yeah, we gotta say Black Lives Matter now. We want them to pull up to my house. But they didn't orchestrate the protests. They have not. They didn't create the in fact, not fucking around coalition. They didn't create that. You think that the Democrats want Black people to have guns? Oh, you silly child. No, they don't want that. You think the Democrats want Black people to be organized rather than mobilized? No, they don't want that either. Mobilization is when you are temporarily inspired to activate for one specific cause and then you dissipate after that cause is supposedly achieved. Organization means you will organize for whatever cause may come now or in the future. They don't want Black people organized, they want them mobilized. What we have seen is long-term protests for now months, stretching over the span of months, people. That's organization. And they like to focus on the white boys in Portland, I get it. But if you go to, and Glory can actually talk about this because she's been to a lot of them here in South Florida. Go to the ones in South Florida. Go to the ones in Minneapolis. Go to the ones in the areas where Black people are the dominant demographic, and you will see it's Black people there too, a lot of them. And usually in those areas, like in South Florida, it's dominantly Black people there. But they're not showing those protests. They're trying to make it seem like it's only a bunch of white boys running around with masks on. They don't have control over what's going on. And so they're trying to say BLM because like, oh, well, we don't have control over those protesters, but those people who would sympathize with those protesters based off of the narrative siege that we have committed, we can get them to vote for us without giving those protesters anything and then blame the Republicans for the protests happening. That's what they're doing. It's triangulation. But no. The Democrats don't like the protests. They don't. They're going to try to profit off of it. They're going to try to use the protests. They also try to use Martin Luther King's name. Okay, and they try to use Malcolm X's name. Okay, and they unfortunately, at least temporarily, have successfully co-opted Angela Davis. They try and use us all the time. But they do know this. Most of the people at these protests are not voting for Joe Biden. They are not naive people. The Black people I know, 95, especially if they're 30 years or younger, if they're about 30 years old or younger, every Black person I know is not voting for Biden or Trump. Every single one of them. Now, I will say this, the well-off millennials that I know are still kind of engaging in the same tropes about why I should vote against Trump, as I see a lot of the established older Democrats doing. That is a little bit bothersome, but I don't think that they make up anywhere close to the majority. It's because their jobs somewhat depend on the Democrats being successful, if I'm being honest. But BLM isn't turning out votes for the Democrats. Not anywhere near enough. And I think that Trump might end up getting more Black votes than any Republican in recent history, if I'm being really honest about it. Like a high, not more Black votes, I should say the highest percentage of Black votes. because more is relative. I think that most Black people are just not going to vote for either of them. So the moral of that story is Stacey Abrams and that entire documentary crew can kiss my ass. We've been out here working, fighting for election integrity for years. And y'all call us conspiracy theorists. And we brought up these same, not only, we didn't just bring up anecdotal shit. We're showing you the numbers. We're showing you the numbers, people. No, those are conspiracy theorists though. And now watch David Pakman and TYT and all of them. All of a sudden now election integrity is real because Joe Biden can't possibly be as bad as Donald Trump or worse. The world can't believe that. Why not? Y'all been spending your time convinced. Y'all's been spending your entire year convinced that somehow Joe Biden, being the conservative that he is, actually aligns more so with the people of the Democratic Party than Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard, even Andrew Yang does. That's what y'all have been selling, right? That of course he won. He is the most moderate, which means really conservative. And therefore, so why would you not think that Trump is more popular than Biden if that idea holds true? Just saying. There's no intellectual consistency there. Nizar G, what's going on, my mans? University of Texas in Dallas, most diverse university on campus. Oh, university campus in Texas ran out of ballots midday. Never re-up. Yeah, I remember seeing it on Twitter. Oh man, next Glory. It's so crazy you said that. Glory said that my school lost power halfway through the day. UCLA lost power too. These places that have literally never lost power ever, all of a sudden lose power midday. Glory. Alex Villanueva, head of LASD, that's been tear gassing and illegally detaining protesters, is a Democrat and ran as a progressive too. You know, it's interesting. I feel like Pasta and Fiorella called him out very early on. That's why I find it interesting that some people were sold by him, which is interesting. Some people were sold, and Fiorella and Pasta and Johnny tried to call him out. All right, so I got to get up out of here. I get some other stuff done, but make sure if y'all have not yet, make sure you subscribe not only to this channel but subscribe to my other YouTube channel. It's just my YouTube channel, even myself. We're on a little experiment over there, and we have that's where a lot of my individual videos are going to go. They're going to be here. Some of them will be here too, but most importantly, subscribe to Rockfin, ROKFIN.com, rockfin.com/Niko. It's where our Thursday show is. Every Thursday, our Rockfin Premium show, and we will be back live this Thursday. Like I said, baby, we back to normal. We're on our normal schedule again, which normal schedule just means your timeline is going to be filled with a bunch of videos from Niko. You're welcome. I miss you guys. Like I said, I really did. I miss all of you. I even miss my haters because, hey, you can't really do this without haters. If you don't have haters, then you're not doing a good enough job, if I'm being honest with you. And so haters, I'm back. If you don't have no one to hate on, feel free to hate on me. I appreciate it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in to this live stream of Mimosa Monday, AMA. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.